Hi, I'm John Atack,
I'm Sam Atack.
and today we are going to talk a little bit about narcissism and whether it's the right word. Is narcissism the right word, we may call this?
Right word for what?
For narcissism.
Okay.
The word narcissism was first used in psychology by...
Eric Fromm.
No.
In psychology.
In psychology, the first person to use... You were such confidence
Freud.
there. Freud! You've heard of it.
You didn't nick it from anyone?
The first use of the word narcissism in psychology...
Yeah. Not on the Greek myths.
Was,
Freud.
Yeah, I think Narcissus had been mentioned before Freud.
Really?
Who stole most of his ideas from the Greek myths. In fact, when you get down to it, Oedipus, Electra, all of that good stuff. It wasn't him who used the word Thanatos, though, in case you were worried. Freud introduced the term to say that there is primary and secondary narcissism. We hear so much about this word nowadays, it's become a common insult to call somebody narcissistic because they're a show-off or exhibitionistic or greedy or selfish, not mentioning any names. And I think it might be completely the wrong word for what we're talking about. Freud basically said everybody's narcissistic.
Yeah.
And the best you can do is shift their primary narcissism, which is the narcissism you're born with, to secondary narcissism. So after about 5 years of 3 sessions a week, 50-minute hours, about $300 a week, you will be able to graduate and become a secondary narcissist.
Yeah.
Eric Fromm came along and challenged this idea in 1964 in a book called The Heart of Man, which is a fine book, and said, well, no. What Freud had said is that a narcissist is somebody who loves only themselves. Now, this could well have been true of Freud, and certainly it looks like it from my reading of his life, and that they don't love other people, they only love themselves. And Fromm said, no, a narcissist, in the sense that Freud uses the term, is somebody who doesn't love themselves. They don't know how to love. And, fundamental idea in Fromm is that maturity, becoming a human being, means learning how to love. And he gives that lovely metaphor of the painter who says, well, I won't learn anything about painting until I find the object I want to paint, or the person, the object of my art, and then I'll do the painting. And he says love's rather like that, that actually it's a good idea to learn the craft and the technique of love first. And what are the 4 components of love in Fromm? Care.
Care.
Responsibility.
Responsibility. Knowledge. That's one of them.
Yep.
Yeah, care, respect, responsibility.
This is great, isn't it? Whenever we do a list, there's always an item missing.
Is respect one?
Respect, responsibility, care, and knowledge.
Yeah. There you go.
That's what he thinks love is. Bless him. That's what he thought love was.
You added affection to that.
Well, I think that affection is a foundational notion of love, that one likes.
Yeah.
But he would say that's the care part. Perhaps.
Okay, yeah.
Who knows? He has malignant narcissism, which would later be called the narcissistic personality disorder. And that's what people blather on about. Here's the problem I'm having with this word narcissist. Now, Craig Malkin is at the Harvard Medical School, is the guy writing about narcissism now, who wrote in the Dangerous Case of Donald Trump about it, and is reckoned to be wise on the subject. He puts forward the idea of a spectrum of narcissism going from 0 to 10. And the idea is if you have 0 narcissism, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have at least 2.
So where does solipsism fall on this scale?
We'll get to solipsism.
Okay, good.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
It will come up eventually. He likes that word.
I do. It's a nice word.
I used to get the word solecism and the word solipsism mixed up, and now you will.
Yeah.
But you've got to be somewhere from 2 to 4 on this spectrum of narcissism to actually function as a human being, because you otherwise won't have any self-esteem.
Kafka managed on one for quite a while.
Yeah, and then fell off the edge.
Yeah.
I think it's a difficult idea, and we have to take it back to, as you often do with words, to its original meaning. Do you know the story of Narcissus?
Falling in love with his own reflection.
Ultimately, but the idea was that he was such a beautiful fellow that not only did human beings fall in love with him, both male and female, of course, because Greek society was not homophobic. And in fact, as you found in the symposium, they laugh when Socrates suggests that you could actually love a woman. And of course, that was not the kind of thing that people did back then, apparently. But what happens is Narcissus, after whom the daffodil is named, he is so beautiful that men and women fall in love with him, and they commit suicide. There's a case of suicide because he won't respond to their love. And then the nymphs, who are these semi-divine creatures that inhabit the trees and wood nymphs and the rivers, the water nymphs, that they start falling in love with him. And in particular, a nymph called Echo falls in love with him. Now, she has a bit of a problem in that she's annoyed the queen of the gods, Hera, by her endless chatter. And so Hera has made it so that she can only repeat what is said to her. And so she goes around after Narcissus trying to gain his love, but all she can do is repeat the ends of his sentences to him, which doesn't seem to impress him very much. And so she fades away to be merely an echo, and thusly we have the word echo. Echo, echo, echo. He, meanwhile, goes and looks in a pool, having been cursed now, and sees his own reflection and falls in love with it. And in the end, he dives into the pool to become one with his own reflection, and a daffodil, a narcissus, grows at the side of the pond, leaning forward, apparently to look at itself. And I'd just like to point out that flowers can't see themselves. They don't have eyes, just in case you hadn't noticed. So that bit of the story is obviously untrue. Now, this is a story about somebody who loves himself. Yeah. So if Freud was wrong to translate this over, and if his idea that we're all loathsome, self-obsessed creatures might not be the truth, then we've got a problem, because we have a term that actually, where Craig Malkin says, "Oh, you can be a healthy narcissist," that doesn't really work. And I would like to separate out the idea of narcissism from the idea of self-respect, that self-esteem, that it is a good idea to have a sensible grasp of your own competence, your own capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fromm talks about it as well, that if you want somebody else to achieve their full potential, you need to apply the same logic to yourself and care, respect, be responsible, and trying to gain knowledge of yourself as well.
I think, personally, I disagree with his use of the term self-love. That's always rankled with me. That I don't believe that self-love is of itself healthy. It may be my Christian upbringing and the notion of sacrifice of yourself to others. But self-regard, self-respect, that does seem proper to me. Liking yourself. And I don't think that should necessarily be a permanent characteristic. I think there are times where you shouldn't like yourself, where you've been a naughty and bad person. But to put this all under the blanket of narcissism, it's like saying there's a spectrum of psychosis, and to be a little bit psychotic is really healthy.
Without psychosis.
We're actually talking about a condition of self-obsession, and then saying, well, it's actually not anything to do with love. So I think that brings us to, you were jumping the gun there. That brings us to solipsism.
Solipsism.
See, told you. You don't even know what a solipsism is, do you? I don't either. So I think it's some kind of grammatical error, actually.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. Solipsist, asked about Donald Trump in the book aforementioned, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, the great psychiatrist Robert J. Lifton said that he doesn't think that Trump is a narcissist. He thinks he's a solipsist. Now, this is somebody who can ring the bell, by at the top of the spectrum and hit a full 11, as Spinal Tap did on their amplifiers, by being completely self-obsessed, thinking that whatever they say, as his niece Mary said, as soon as something's past his lips, he knows it's true. And so we see him on the same day contradicting himself and knowing it's true. And then when the contradiction is brought to his attention, he wonders about the oranges of the contradiction, you know. What a great man. As if people, I've been called political for criticising Donald Trump. And for me, to criticise somebody who is evidently having real problems in getting a sentence out. I'm not sure I've ever heard Donald Trump issue a coherent sentence. He changes tense in the middle of sentences. He wanders off. I think this isn't politics. This is the looking at somebody who is decidedly strange. And I can't vote in the American elections. I couldn't be American president because I wasn't born in wherever it was that Barack Obama was actually born, that Donald Trump kept on saying year on, year out he wasn't, because he was a Muslim terrorist from Kenya or something, according to Donald Trump. You know, seeing that this man for 10 out of the last 15 years has actually failed to make any profit beyond being able to pay $750 in tax, which is far less than the average teacher or nurse would be paying in the United States. That's how his art of the deal and his thinking like a champion has brought him. I would say he's a solipsist. He's not aware of the world outside of him. And I think that we might actually separate this out from the narcissistic personality disorder completely and say there is this other thing. The narcissistic personality disorder, they're not narcissistic, so we've got a problem there. They've got too high a self-regard, but no self-love. And they aren't daffodils either, you know, or jonquils or narcissus, the various variants on the Narcissus family. So you have one thing over there, possibly the malignant narcissist within Fromm's idea, but at its peak you get somebody, and they may not mean to be malignant, but they are so utterly selfish that they don't care about anything else. You know, they may include their own children in the little bubble of selfishness. And I think we might be dealing with a much simpler condition there, which I'm going to call selfishness. That I don't think needs to be medicalized or anything, because it's rather obvious. And it's like we're stepping away from it by encoding it into these narcissistic characteristics, rather than saying, look, this person is mean and selfish. You know, it's not the dark triad of Machiavellian behavior and sociopathy and narcissism. It just gets too complicated. Mean, selfish, bullying people are mean, selfish, and bullying. And we shouldn't be encouraging that, because if the world's in a mess, it's because of mean, selfish, bullying people, not because of narcissists or solipsists or psychopaths. You know, it's not a psychiatric thing. It's because, you know, Genghis Khan was not very nice. No, you know, he was mean, selfish, bullying, and raped an enormous amount of women, which is why they say that he has more descendants in the world today than anyone else. Which is a bit worrying.
Scary, really.
So just, you know, let's unmedicalise some of these things and say we're not keen on selfishness. We're not keen on greed, where people exclude other people and eat all the food. I'm not naming any names here, but I'm looking at you. No, it's not true. He's not mean or selfish. He is a little bit greedy, though, at times. In a sense. There's food to be eaten.
You're greedy.
I'm not greedy. I'm the man making the food. How could that be greedy? You know, I provide
you just make a lot for yourself.
Let you have it. I make just enough for myself. So think about it. Mean, selfish, bullying. We don't.
And violent. Can we have
violent? We're not very keen on. Aggressive, pushy, these kind of things. We'd like a lovely, polite society in which people are very kind to each other and keep their social distance at all times. Yes. So we'll wear masks the next time, actually, as the politicians are now doing. Donald Trump was for it and against it and for it and against it. It's very difficult to tell. And apparently the virus is Chinese.
Yeah.
He's spoken to it and he's understood the oranges.
Wow.
I think it's bats, personally, probably. So, that's all we have to say about that, as Forrest Gump might put it. I'm John Atack.
I'm Sam Atack.
And thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Bye-bye. Hi, John here. Thanks for watching. We'd appreciate it very much if you would click like, as well as subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Every dollar helps, and we welcome new patrons on Patreon, or you can make a one-off payment with any currency through PayPal. Thanks so much. I'm not naming any names here, but I'm looking at you.